It's Comic-Con time, baby, and as always, Comic-Con means a DC anime film is getting its premiere. This case for this year is Justice League War, which comes out on Tuesday digitally for Went and Buy, which I will of course cover when it comes out, and it will. But as always, in the premiere and on the panel, which would be limited, I guess, to just the director and the producer for this year, they announced the slate for the upcoming year. But what's interesting about it is, like, normally they do like 3 films a year. This time they're only doing 2. I'm wondering, A, they're saving a little bit more money, they're putting a little bit more money into these. Maybe that. Maybe it is budget reasons. You know, okay, we only have now money to do 2 anime films a year, maybe. But they're big stories. They're holy punches. This one is, like, the moment they mention Crisis on Infinite Earths, aka, or as it's called, Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, that's when I'm like, that's a big story. I guess you're loosely basing on this, on the actual Crisis, because that's quite big, huge, a bit like a 20-inch dick huge. Like it's a big story. I'm a bit concerned, like, unless you are like, hey, we're only doing 2 so we can make a 2-hour movie. Or make a 2.5 hour, 3-hour movie, so we had the budget to do it. Maybe that's the case. But the moment I heard Crisis, I'm like, okay, this is going to probably be very loosely based. Because one of the complaints that us fans who watch these anime films is that there's no time to breathe. There's, one of the complaints I have with Legion of Superheroes is that they have this Supergirl Brainiac 5 relationship going on, but the moment they make out and they have the kiss, it isn't there, because like for 95% of the time they're on screen, they're bickering and fighting, and there's no sense or reason that the two of them would find each other romantic at that point of time. Maybe later in life, but at that point in time, not so much. So, or like, hey, this is enough with the setup, jump to the action. There's that complaint as well. And so I'm wondering if it's just going to be boom, boom, action sequence after action sequence. And it's just, that's the worry I have when you announce Crisis on Infinite Earths. And same with number 2, which is Watchmen. They're going to adapt the Watchmen story, which is 12 issues long, and once again, it's like a 20-inch dick. It is a huge story. If you've seen the live-action movie and you're curious about why is the movie about nearly 3 hours long, because there's a lot of fucking stuff to cover. And again, when it comes to Watchmen is that type of story that a lot of people are very centered about. A lot of people, like, there's a whole group of people who are angry that there's a movie. They're angry that there's a TV show. They're angry that there's a sequel. They're angry, like, that all they want is the original comic and there's no other extended media. Maybe action figures. They'll probably care about that part. But all the stuff I mentioned, a prequel comic, that happened. I think that happened, like, probably they didn't do that, like, right when the movie was coming out. Something to capitalize when the film came out. But anyway. But, yeah, they're covering, but they're doing Watchmen, which is going to be interesting. Like, is a black bar going to happen? Like, how are you going to handle Dr. Manhattan swinging his weaves around, his leg around, because Dr. Manhattan likes to be naked all the time. But the thing with Watchmen is because it's so sacred, so I know this is going to piss people off, but for me, I'm always about, let people who normally wouldn't get to experience the story in its original medium to experience it in the medium in the media that they would actually watch it. And if you're not a fan of, for example, the Zack Snyder version of Watchmen, and a lot of people felt like it was a little bit too faithful to the source material, you got this anime movie to come out to see these characters talk and interact and all that. The second thing I thought when I heard Watchmen is maybe they want to do Doomsday Clock, and you realize like you kind of need to cover the Watchmen ground before doing Doomsday Clock. That could be a thing. Which was the comic book sequel. I'm saying comic book sequel because like HBO did their own version of a Watchmen sequel. It's not a sequel. It's a sequel. The events of the book happened after the, when we meet our main characters. Anyway, but it's a lot of stuff. I'm a little bit worried that because it's 90 minutes, these films are normally 90 minutes long. I'm worried that it's just going to be a chunk. Are they going to cut stuff out? Are they going to cut stuff in? Is it going to just be an adaptation of Watchmen? Is it going to be the before Watchmen stuff? Is it going to be a whole? It's going to be a whole interesting thing how they're going to do these two films. Who's going to be cast these guys? I'm wondering if the Tomorrowverse voice actors are going to be the ones doing Crisis. I think that I wouldn't be sure that could be the one, and Watchmen will be. That's going to be interesting. Who's going to be voicing? Who will be voicing the Watchmen? That's actually the new version of who voices the Watchmen. But it's just when I hear these two, like the only thing I can think of is like, okay, this is going to be the 3-hour movie or 2-hour movie, or maybe they'll cut bits and pieces. Maybe they'll cut all the fluff and all that. Maybe the couple Journals, and maybe a couple of. Maybe they cut the Dr. Manhattan Orchard Story stuff, and maybe they do a full-on adaptation of it, like how you can adapt it, and make it somehow work in the media that it's going to go. Crisis is going to be interesting just by its size and scale and time, and normally the time. The one time Watchmen's is there just knowing like how it's just you're curious of how they're going to adapt this without pissing people off. But you normally when you say you're adapting Watchmen, people get easily pissed off easily. So it's gonna be quite interesting who's gonna be voicing those characters. Who's gonna be Naya? Who's gonna be Rorschach? Who's gonna be I think all the authors. I'm wondering if I was going to adapt Watchmen, I probably would cut all the author story stuff and just like streamline it probably. If I had 9 minutes to tell the story, so probably the best way to do it. And on that, but comment below what you think below of these